Season 1 breakdown of Westworld. We're going to talk about the effects and how the effects help the story.
Everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. So we do about 3 videos a week. So if you're interested, head over to asart.space. You can check our audio podcast, all the video media as well, and all of our social media links is there. So go ahead and check that out. And with that, Nick, you've been bugging me to watch Westworld for a while. Now I'm watching it. Now I'm way down the rabbit hole. And one thing that's really hit me a lot about it that you wanted to talk about as well is how the effects are not just there, but they aid the story so much. And you can't separate the story and the effects because they're so well kind of meshed together. Now, I haven't seen all of season 1 yet, so if Nick ruins it, this must be the end of our podcast because I'm going to murder him. But Nick, so
I'll do my best.
Is there particular moments that really stood out to you in season 1 that I have seen so far that you feel, or just the effects overall, how it aids the story and things like that?
So one thing I love, I'm in California. That's where I'm based. Hence the flag behind me. The ranch caught fire in the last big fire here in California, but there's a place called Malibu Ranch, and it was a little set they built for Westerns. And it's a set they use in the movie over and over again. It's not the main set. It's like the set.
You mean in Westworld?
Yeah, it's like a set in Westworld, like with the town and everything. Wow. And it's the town. I think it's like the flashbacks you see with Dolores and stuff like that. I don't know if they show in the flashbacks like that she's had and stuff, but those flashbacks, and it was just so cool because me and Allie took our engagement photos there and everything too. It was just so cool, and it was like, oh my gosh, I remember watching the show. We're like, dude, that's the set where we took the engagement photos and stuff.
How cool!
And a lot of the
fun.
desert scenes was shot in Joshua Tree. And, we go camping all the time in Joshua Tree and stuff. Yeah. So it was just so cool to see Joshua Tree and the landscapes. And it was also shot in other cool places, too. But those 2 places was like, oh, that's so sick. That's like right here.
So they definitely did some really cool location scouting for the show.
Yes, they did. But they incorporated the effects so well. Because, those cities or those sets only go on so long. You know what I mean? Then they have to add so much stuff.
Extension,
but gosh, it's just the way they blend the robots. Like when you see the robot and half bodies and
that's the big thing too. Is I asked Nick when we started the show. It's like, can you think of any particular shots or effects? And we kind of we were talking about just briefly before we got in here. We never really finished that conversation. But I said, yeah, there's particular moments that stood out for you that I haven't seen yet. Or that I have seen already. Let's talk about them. But that's the thing is the effects don't really pop out. It's more the emotional impact that the story has with the effects in it, which is really the best way you can incorporate effects into a show. It's not just an explosion, just to have an explosion, but it's how it integrates in the story. And honestly, I mean, it's just so well done that. Oh, by the way, so one thing that I did really like. So I had seen some shots from the opening credits for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know it was for Westworld. So Octane Render, you guys, if you haven't heard of Octane Render, it's a GPU-based render. It uses a graphics card and computer. I remember on their website, they always have this like skeleton playing the piano. I'm like, what is that from? It looks cool. That's from the opening. So I don't know if they did the whole opening credits in Octane or just that particular shot, but really, really cool shot. Like the opening sequence is so cool. And the more you get in the show, the more you can see how that tells kind of the story, which I love about it.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like the
so
map in
cool.
Game of Thrones where it gives you an idea on what's going on, so really, really cool stuff.
But, it's interesting. So we just talked about 1917 and the hidden cuts. And we talked about that in that video about the best visual effects is when you don't notice there's visual effects happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's happening a lot with this show. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it's these epic landscapes or trains, going into tunnels and stuff like that where the trains are probably never there because it's like a huge panning shot. It's all this stuff that's just like, that's so cool because you just wouldn't even realize what's visual effects and what's real kind of thing. So,
and I do have to refine that statement a little bit. The story they're telling, the effects don't need to be in the forefront. If you're telling the Avengers or a superhero movie, there's not really any way you can tell that story without it being in the forefront. So it really depends on what type of story. But for this story, it's more about the human condition and can you relate that into a robotic world? And that doesn't necessarily need effects to be told. But when you're telling the story on how these characters are existing, these robotics are existing, the effects help that immensely. So one of the shots that I really liked, and I think I'm in episode 6. And if you haven't seen Westworld, which I haven't seen all of it, I don't want to get stabbed either. So if you haven't seen it, you go watch it. We're going to talk about some shots, but
spoilers, just in case you haven't watched season
spoilers
1.
Coming up. So there's a shot in the movie AI that came out many, many years ago where this where this robotic woman is looking towards camera, like running towards camera, and then she looks to the side, and the whole side of her face is just, it's just like a flat plate, for her face. And there's a scene where this young boy, his whole kind of face kind of parts and comes apart, and you can see the robotic insides. And that's been done to death in a good number of movies, but it looked really, really seamless. And those shots are really, really cool to do, because not only do they have to model the face, they have to map the video on top of that, and then they have to, kind of pause that frame and have it, separate and have the lighting and everything match. There's certain shots that one was one of the few that was really in your face. So sometimes they have effects that are kind of really in your face, but the majority of the time, they're so subtle. Doesn't mean they're not complex, but they're so subtle that they just kind of aid in the story. And another one of my favorite scenes is when you're getting a behind the scenes look through the character's eyes, where they're seeing it for the first time too, where these strands of muscle are being put together, and the tissue and the eyes, and you're seeing the heart start and the color starting to go into the body. Like that stuff, again, it's effects that's not in your face, like explosions and blah, 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 but it's integral to the story. And that's why I think it works so well. And again, just like his Dark Materials and all those other HBO series, flawless. Like there's no kind of HBO's hiccups where you look at it. Yeah, they really are. They really are. Yeah.
Now I don't want to, but there's scenes. Is it May? May's the bartender girl, or the girl that works in the bar. Is her name?
Oh, I forgot her name. So that works at the brothel. You mean?
Yeah. Doesn't she kill herself on purpose to get back?
Yeah.
To the place. Yeah. So and then they're always like repairing her and stuff, right? With like the little tools and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember remember the exact scene, but I'm thinking about like where you can see the robotic stuff and they're repairing the skin and stuff like that, right? Isn't that?
You see some really, you see some really, really cool stuff. I mean, if not with her, with other. But the acting though,
to even like the whole robotic thing, like the one dude, the dad, and he's like having the moment, and he's like freaking out and stuff like that, and like he freezes, like it's just so good, isn't it? It's just like, oh my gosh, and just all the different
all
stuff.
The acting is really, really good.
I mean, you have
I can't think of any
two of the biggest names, huh?
Yeah, so Nick already knows that I was nerding about this. So if you ask me who my favorite actor was, just as far as like a breadth of roles that he's done and different roles, like Ed Harris is one of my very favorites. Yeah. I think the first movie I saw him with was The Abyss, and then I've seen him in all kinds of other stuff since then. And he plays all kinds of different roles, but he's a really good actor. And then if you think of the other like top tier, just top of the game, you have Anthony Hopkins, and then you get them on screen at the same time, and it's like, yes, that's awesome, But they're both playing not just minor roles, but important roles, and you're getting to learn more about their characters as you go along too. So it's really, really cool.
Bernard's character is really cool too. That guy's a good actor too.
Yes, he's I haven't seen him. His face looks kind of familiar, but I haven't seen him in a whole lot. Have you seen him?
He's going to be in the new Wes Anderson movie.
Oh, cool.
And then
he
was in the Hunger Games. I think he was one of the characters in the Hunger Games. He was like one of the smart ones. He was like the guy who figured out it was a clock or something like that, I think.
Oh, man. I think that was a while back, wasn't it? Man, it doesn't seem like that was long ago, but that was long ago.
And it might have been the second one. It probably wasn't even the first one. I think it was the second one where they brought back the champions or whatever or something like that. I think it was the second one.
Do you feel... Nick's like, ooh. Do you feel like... I feel like they did a perfect merger of... I mean, I don't know if they really did this. So were these stories before they were ever made into a show?
So there was a Westworld movie. Do you remember the old one? It was like 1980 something. Or... Yeah, it was like... What's his name played in it? But yeah, so the guy who wrote this book, he wrote another book, Jurassic Park. What's that story about?
Oh, it was Michael Crichton?
Yeah, so what that story's about, an amusement park with dinosaurs. It goes haywire. And this one's amusement park about robots.
Oh, I didn't know this was a Michael Crichton book. Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense then. So, but I
think they're taking elements and stuff. I don't think it's like I haven't read the books. It's been forever since I've seen the old Westworld, so don't question me.
But don't question me. Don't question. But what I love about this,
I can't take it.
At least this particular adaptation, what I really like about it is I look at certain things and I feel like we're getting when the first episode, before I understood that it was actually a park where they actually went to, and these things I thought they were plugging into like the Matrix, but it has that Matrixy type of feel. You're trying to break out of the Matrix, trying to get. But then I look at it where the woman in the brothel keeps repeating her life. It's like almost like Groundhog Day, where you just keep repeating that same thing over and over. And there's a lot of different things that really kind of go in there that I'm just like, just wonderful themes, and they're quoting all kinds of classic, literature and references, and a lot of allegory with like biblical things. And he's like, I didn't feel like I was in place in the world, so I made my own world, and here I'm God. It's crazy, and it's almost like where I don't know what happens with, what was the other guy that made the world with him? Arnold, is that his name?
Yeah.
So
Arnold.
I don't know what the story is with him yet. I haven't seen him. Yeah, the guy that started it with him, but it almost goes back to almost like biblical things, to where you have, God, and then you have the angels, and the angels are cast down. It's like these, this separation of, it's just really, really, really cool stuff. And then it also gets into like the Native American almost folklore, where they have these visions, and then they're saying, oh, these are the creators. And then you look at it, it's almost like aliens, or they're in these suits, and it's like,
it's there's so many different parallels. Scalp, right? What's on the inside of the scalp? Yeah,
like they have these weird funky helmets, and it's the Indians that have these things, and like, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much cool parallels to real life that you drive. And really, more than anything, what I love about it, and this is not effects based, but it makes you think about our own existence and how we view kind of organized religion and belief systems, whether it's, current or past, and just how you view the world around you, and what you perceive as what's important, and what makes your characteristics, what makes you a person. A lot of the cool stuff has been covered before, but the way they cover it in here is really, really awesome. So I've been nerding out on it. Obviously, you guys can tell. But yeah, it's been really, really cool stuff.
So now we're just going to kind of talk about Westworld in general. I'm just curious. I want to get his opinion on it. He hasn't finished the first season. What do you think?
It's episode 6 right now.
So do you have any theories or anything in your head? I'm just curious now.
As far as the overarching...
For the end of the first season, like, do you have any theories or anything going on in your head?
Well, if I knew the whole story was only going to be one season, maybe I would have they might be, sometimes for seasons and seasons, they just hint at something and then they never actually get there. But I feel like, this maze or whatever it is, either the dude's alive in one way or another, or he made some type of robotic version of himself. But I feel like the goal is I forgot what the Arnold guy said, but he said something along the lines of, the goal is to have it, I can't remember, like something like, I feel like they almost like Tron, where he wants them to get out of that world. I'm curious if the goal for him, because it's like they're hearing his voice and he's saying, wake up, or like, do this, or, like kill them. He's giving them instructions to go completely against the program, and is the reason that this girl seems like she's waking up and things like that. And it's only this first generation model that he almost planned. Yeah, Dolores and the brothel keeper, and like
I think her name is Maze. Yeah, Maze.
Yeah. Only the people that he directly created and had influence are the ones that have these unique,
because they have the coding line still deep in there.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're receiving these transmissions. So like, I feel like the goal is for them to break out of that world, or for it to become a full-fledged world. But, obviously I have no idea.
I wanted John to talk about it because I want him to come back and be like, whoa, I was so wrong. Or, whoa, I was so right. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see his reaction. I had to ask, because he hasn't seen it. And I have, and I love this first season so much. I love it so much. So
I feel like they're leaving enough, and obviously I haven't seen season 2. Season 2's obviously already been out for a while. I feel like they're leaving enough loopholes and plot holes to where they could take it whatever direction they really kind of want to. But at the same time, it's been really, really cool storytelling.
It's shot so beautiful. I mean, if you like any HBO show, this is a great HBO show to get into. I feel like all their shows are top notch, high quality. I mean, if you guys get a chance, please watch Westworld. Please watch Westworld. Yeah. And if you've already seen it, let us know your favorite shots or anything. We're on our next one. I think we're gonna break down some stuff from season 2, because season 2 is a little bit more visual effects heavy, and you'll see too. And they do some really cool stuff with the visual effects. And I think our next video on it, we're gonna be breaking down actual scenes. We've done a couple other visual effects breakdowns videos. We're leaving the description and stuff like that. But and sometimes, like we said, the best visual effects is when you can't see it or notice it. I mean, they
usually are. Yeah. If they take you out of the story, they're not doing their job, unless there has to be an explosion for some case. But so anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing, head over to asart.space. You can find the audio podcast there on iTunes and Spotify. And then also you can find our various social media and video content as well. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next AsArt.